about uh, Cambosis versus Haney in two different contexts. But first, let me start off with Blue Blood Sports TV. Shout out to Blue Blood Sports TV. You know, Blue is generally really wrong in calling fights, and Blue genuinely looks at fighters. He's been in boxing. You know, he's been one of the oldest YouTube boxing champions out here, and he's now raking in good cash. He's doing well with YouTube, and salute to him. I've come to respect him over the years, and his point of view, you know. And I don't agree with everything he says, but I do respect him, and I do realize his boxing IQ is up there in terms of a fan's boxing IQ. Um, you know, Blue just did a video there that talking about what Cambos has said to Devin Haney, and we all know Cambosis is doing a tremendous job selling this fight in Australia. You know what I like about George Cambosis, he's charismatic. You know, he tells his story. You know what I mean? He's trying to do. He's trying to get into his opponent's head. I mean, he's doing everything that he needs to do to win this fight. So I salute him. I tip my hat to him, because a true warrior doesn't just attack, it one way. He attacks major points, and he's also trying to sell a fight. Cambosis has attributes that I really love that could make him a superstar boxer. Okay, so I admire George Cambosis like crazy. You know what I mean? I don't hate George Cambosis. I don't. And so what he's doing is everything he possibly can to win the fight. And he's also generating interest in the fight. If you just look at the fight, it's like Rolly Romero versus Tank, right? Rolly did a tremendous job promoting this fight with Tank. Tremendous. Tank didn't carry that fight. Rolly carried that fight. He got people to believe that he could beat Tank Davis. Okay. And that's because he actually believed it too. Conor McGregor versus Floyd Mayweather. Conor McGregor did a tremendous job. Floyd, did his thing, but Floyd didn't have to press too hard. Floyd didn't have to carry the load of the promotion. Floyd sat back and watched a guy run through the gears. And he didn't have to do much work. He didn't have to carry the bulk of the load. Cambos is doing an excellent job in Australia, and even outside of Australia, convincing people that he will win this fight. Okay? And they're gonna come in there with a game plan. Don't get it twisted. Cambosis and his team has a game plan. I'm letting you guys know right now, what you need is not one of them stupid fanboys who's talking out of a fanboy perspective. I'm speaking strictly from a boxing perspective when I say what I said about my prediction. I'm not going to go through the prediction anymore. I'm tired of saying that, because basically that's a bygone conclusion. When I heard this fight was made, I already knew what was going to happen, right? So we don't need to go into that, right? We want to spend time. I want you fans to respect fighters no matter what happens. I don't want y'all going in on Haney or Cambosis after this fight, because both guys are taking risks. Haney decided to go into Cambosis' territory. Most American fighters don't do that. They don't cross the seas. It's not a favorable. Yeah, Haney, he could have stayed in the zone. and look for something much more favorable. He didn't do that. So you got to give Haney his props for that. And Cambosis is taking on Devin Haney, y'all. Y'all don't understand. He stepped to the plate and said, yeah, he was trying to get Lomachenko, you know. He's trying to get Lomachenko because Lomachenko a little bit older in the tooth. He probably have a better chance against Lomachenko because both of them have similar kind of footwork, even though he don't have as well refined a footwork and well rehearsed footwork like Lomachenko. You know. But he was trying to get Lomachenko, which is a big dog in Top Rank. Then enter Devin Haney into Top Rank. Decided I'm gonna join the Top Rank team to get this fight. You know, if you look at it as it stands right now, I'm gonna explain to you guys so you guys will understand. As it stands right now, Top Rank has some of the top guys, obviously, in boxing. In the lightweight division, Top Rank now has what I argue is possibly the best lightweight in the lightweight division. They still have to fight it out. So Tank will have to face Devin, and Ryan will have to face Devin, and we'll see, right? But arguably, the best lightweight in the lightweight division is Devin Haney. Okay, we can't talk about Shakur. Shakur's down at super featherweight, so we're not going to talk about Shakur. Okay, he's in super featherweight. But arguably, Bob Arum has, once again, Bob Arum keeps on getting these guys, and so we'll see what happens. But Bob Arum has, like, he lost Terrence Crawford, he gained Devin Haney. Devin Haney but it's not really Devin Haney. It's really Lou DiBella that has Devin Haney. That DHP is really working with Lou DiBella. And Lou DiBella is working with Bob Arum. So it's a joint kind of thing. And Ferocious Promotions, which is Cambosis, is working really with Lou DiBella, but then they work to Top Rank. You understand what I'm saying? So that's how it's kind of going. Because Top Rank has the connections probably in Australia or whatever. So Bob's involved. And the way the contract is, Devin has to face, it seems as though he has 3 fights on that contract, which he's going to have to face. He's going to have to face 3 guys, and then he's out. So it's a small contract, but yeah, he got something going on there. So the point is, that's who Cambosis is going up with. That take a lot of balls. I'm telling you, man, it take a lot of balls to step up to the plate and say, you know what, I'm going to take this guy. And I don't care. You could talk about all the other stuff that happened before. Bottom line is Cambosis facing Devin Haney. And I'm telling you, man, I'm trying to put this in a perspective for you guys. You're about to face a boxer who's better than you in every single way you could think of in terms of boxing. How do you beat that fighter? What kind of game plan you got to have to beat that fighter, to have a chance in the fight, to beat that fighter? That's the question Gambosis has to face. That's the problem he has to solve somehow in the back of his mind. And trust me, he's not thinking of losing. He's all focused on winning. Okay? And they have a game plan. I'm sure they have a game plan to win. Okay? So don't get it twisted. But I'm just saying, nobody's facing this dude. It's like Demetrius Andrade. Nobody's facing this dude because they know what it takes to beat this dude. They can't see how they can beat this dude as yet. They can't focus on him. There's other guys who are, easier things to work on, than just face this dude who's a problem, That's Devin Haney. Gambosis stepped up to the plate and said, let me at this dude. Let me see what's up. Let's see what's up. Let's see if there's chinks in the armor. Let's see what we can do. Let's step to him. Nobody stepping to him, I'm going to step to him. That's what happened. Now, he had it in Australia. He said, he tried to make all the terms favorable for him, which he the unified champ. You know what I mean? He got the majority of the belts. So he called the shots. He beat T.O. You know what I'm saying? He lineal champ and everything. So, yeah, he called the shots. The lineal champ always called the shots, He's the one really generating the most revenue. Why not? Devin Haney said yes to that. He said yes to it. He said yes to Australia. He said yes to pay cut. He said yes to everything. Why? Like Floyd. Floyd said yes to Oscar's weight class. He said yes to the gloves. Yes to the ring size. Yes to the high. You know how big Oscar can go up and what. He said yes to all of that because he wanted to fight. And Devin wanted this fight, and it's a dream come true for Devin. For Devin, this is a dream come true. You know? So, let's get into the second point. The first point was blue blood. The second point. I'm dropping it on you guys. The second point is history repeats itself. Jack Johnson in I believe it was 1910, somewhere thereabouts, went down to Australia. He was chasing down Tommy Burns, who was then the undisputed champion of the world. Now, let me tell you something about Tommy Burns, because Tommy Burns don't get the credit he deserves. Tommy Burns wasn't a big heavyweight. In fact, Tommy Burns, if I'm not mistaken, used to fight at middleweight, jumped up to heavyweight, and won the vacant heavyweight championship. The vacant heavyweight championship when what's his name? He vacated the title. He was undefeated when he vacated the title. What's the guy's name? Ah, shit. They called the fight the Great White Hope. They called him the Great White Hope. They brought him out of retirement to face Jack Johnson afterwards. I forgot what his name. Jim Jeffries. Okay? And Jim Jeffries was a hell of a fighter. Okay? You know, it's sad because when I'm about to talk about these guys, and Tommy Burns was a hell of a fighter too. Okay? It's sad because some of the greatness of a fighter is lost in history overshadowed by the guy that beat them. Right? And sometimes we don't realize how much accomplishments these guys did. Bob Fitzsimmons, hell of a fighter. Jack Johnson beat him. No doubt about it. But Bob Fitzsimmons was a hell of a fighter. This is a man that fought at middleweight, jumped up to heavyweight, became heavyweight champion, and came down to light heavyweight, and won a title there as well. You know what I mean? So when you talk about Bob Fitzsimmons, you know, he's a hell of a fighter. Okay? It wasn't fighting the black fighters, but it was a hell of fighters. You know, and Jack Johnson, he beat Bob Fitzsimmons. He beat Tommy Burns, who was, again, it's a guy that was at middleweight, moved up to heavyweight, won the heavyweight title of the world, and then, you know, defended, I think he defended once or twice or something like that. And then he fought Jack Johnson. Now, the interesting thing about this is just like how Tommy Burns did what some would consider today the impossible, because we see heavyweight a lot bigger, you know. The way our boxing was, I'm going to break it down a little something for you guys. Where our boxing was, once upon a time, there were only two divisions in boxing. Okay? There was lightweight and there was heavyweight. That's right. There was only two divisions in boxing. Lightweight was, I think, 160 and down, and heavyweight was 160 and up. Okay? So, if you was under 160 pounds, you was a lightweight. And then if you was above it, you was a heavyweight. And even before that, there was no weight classes. All right? So this is just saying that for the sake of it. Now, what's incredible about this is that you know, Tommy Burns was a much smaller guy. Would move up in weight, put on some weight as well on himself, and fight a heavyweight. And he won the heavyweight champion of the world. That's a great feat. Tremendous feat. If you think about it, George Cambosis is not a big lightweight. It's not. It's not a big lightweight. Okay, George Cambosis, you know, he's got a lot of energy. He's strong and everything, but he's not a big lightweight. Tommy Burns came from Australia. George Cambosis came from Australia and did something phenomenal. Shout out to Aslam. Aslam says, "What's going on?" I'm cool, man. What's going on with you? You know, he was able to accomplish the impossible. The Cinderella story, beating Teofimo Lopez, a puncher. You know, Aslam says, "I love your video." Shout out to you, brother. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. He was able to jump up to, you know, he was able to fight Teofimo Lopez, a much bigger guy than him, and beat Teofimo Lopez, becoming the unified, lightweight champion of the world. And that's rare, bro, ladies and gentlemen. Cambos is always the underdog, always fighting, but got skill, got the right schooling of boxing, got some training from Las Vegas, was dedicated to his craft, is always dedicated to his craft, always coming 100%, you know what I mean? Doing the right things. And so he won against Teo. And just like with Tommy Burns, who accomplished incredible stuff, jumping up from 160 all the way up, and then faced Jack Johnson in Australia. Now, Jack Johnson was hung him down for the fight, just like how Devin Haney's hung him down Cambosis for the fight, willing to fight wherever, whenever to have this fight happen. And so there are similarities between what Devin Haney's about to do and the first colored heavyweight champion of the world, which was Jack Johnson, what he was about to do. It's sort of monumental like that, because there are a couple of things that I wanted to show you guys. One of them is Devin Haney, if he does win, would be the first undisputed 4-belt lightweight champion. Okay? And the first lightweight undisputed champion since Pernell Whitaker. And he'll also be the youngest 4-belt undisputed champion of the world. So there's a bunch of shit. If Devin Haney wins, that history will be made. A lot. And that history will be made. A lot. And to have that happen in Marvin Stadium in Australia, in the presence of his father, because his father will be there, is a privilege that, very few can speak about. So, obviously, Devin Haney will be pressing towards that. Now, with respect to George Cambosis, if Cambosis, now I just gave you that to give you a sense of history, okay? But if George Cambosis can become undisputed, without a doubt, he has 3 of the 4 belts, and then he gets the 4th belt, which Devin Haney has. He becomes undisputed, okay? He will be the first 4-belt lightweight world champion in the history of boxing, as well as he will also be the first Australian fighter or champion to become undisputed since Costa Tszyu in the 1990s, in the 2000s. All right. So the last undisputed champion was Costa Tszyu. The last Australian undisputed champion, if I'm not mistaken, was Costa Tszyu. All right. Costa Tszyu was an immigrant from one of the Russian provinces that came to Australia and put Australia on the map. Cambosis, regardless of whether he wins or loses, is about to put Australia back on the map when it comes to boxing. Tim Tszyu, Costa Tszyu's son, is also in the mix. But Cambosis, man, has done something bigger than what Costa Tszyu did in that, if I'm not mistaken, when Costa Tszyu became undisputed, actually, he's not going to do that. So they're both going to do the same thing, because I think Costa Tszyu fought in Australia when he became undisputed. So this is a treat for Cambosis if he can pull it off, which is he'll be undisputed in his home country, before his own people, in front of his Greek and Australian public. That would be great. That would be massive. And that would be a tremendous Cinderella story. It would be massive. You know what I mean? And he would be obviously on the pound for pound list because he undisputed. That's when he become undisputed. He had to defend it though. Now, I say all of this just to say the stakes are very high in this fight for both fighters. And ain't many people in boxing history got the opportunity to fight for undisputed. If you look at even the world champions who actually defended their titles, it's usually against guys who was not the best fighters of the day. You know, even Sugar Ray Robinson, the title defenses at welterweight weren't the best welterweights of the day. You know, I mean, let me put it this way. Let me put it this way, because he was fighting mostly at middleweight. Actually, he did face Bernard DeColson. He did face, those were top guys. Bernard DeColson, Kid Gavilan. He did face them two guys. Them two guys, you know, remarkable fighters. Of course, Kid Gavilan became, you know, the next welterweight world champion after Sugar Ray Robinson left the vacated. But you know, Chuck Taylor. I mean, Chuck Taylor was he top 10? No, he wasn't top 10 at the time. He wasn't top 10 at the time. Tommy Bell was a top 10 guy, but he wasn't. I mean, Sugar Ray Robinson had beaten him before. The other guy, Jimmy Doyle, was a good fighter. I think he was top 10 as well, but I believe that there were two other guys. Charlie Fasuri was. I mean, I'm just gonna shake my shoulders, okay? Charlie Fasuri. I don't think he was top 10 either. But it was sanctioned. And I think the other guy, I think he had 5 defenses of his title, or 6. But they weren't the top guys. You know what I mean? You can go ahead and look in the Ring magazine at least. You could also look at the rankings system back in the day, the NBA and the NYSC. They have their rankings as well, and you can check it out on BoxRec. But by and large, when guys were defending their championships, every now and then they'll face like a known guy, a real great guy on Unification or something. But usually they didn't really face the top guys. This is very interesting. Not the top guys. And it's maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm looking at the annual and not the monthly. Maybe that's it with the Ring. So maybe they did face the top guys. I don't know. But it's very rare. You know, you would see that. You know, you look at Sugar Ray Leonard, for example. Again, I'm not trying to disrespect these guys, just making you guys understand. They did fight top 10 guys, but it wasn't necessarily the top guys. You know what I mean? He did fight Duran. He did fight Hearns. But other than that, you know, and Benitez. But other than that, you know, the top guys, like the #1 contender, not necessarily. You could go ahead and proofread it for yourself and see for yourself. They weren't necessarily the top. It wasn't the #1 contender he was going after every single time. You know, which is interesting. But then again, maybe the sanctioning bodies. It could have been something to do with the sanctioning bodies and how they ranked the fighters versus the Ring. So it could be that as well. But my point anyway is that you know, a lot of people, you know, are looking at this fight and they're going to try and discredit either fighter, whether Devin Haney wins or Cambosis wins. Well, if Cambosis wins, less discredit to him. They'll probably dump on Devin Haney, but you got to see that these guys are doing something that's very rare in boxing. When the top guys, this is a unification, so the top guys are really facing each other. It's kind of rare that it happens. You know, it's happening more these days, and that's just showing you more that boxing just growing and doing well. You know, so I keep on saying this over and over so people will understand that I don't have no hate towards Cambosis or Devin Haney, you know, and they're gonna do what they're gonna do in the ring. They're gonna carry out their game plans as best as they can. Looking forward to it. I still have my feeling that it's still a one-way street. It's gonna be, and a lot of people are telling me it's not gonna be a one-way street. And I'm saying, all right, cool. I'm not going to argue with you. We will see. Boxing is a thing that you don't tell, you show. So they will demonstrate, and then we will see. Okay? We'll see. They're going to fight, right? So, ultimately, in the end, you know, I just wanted to put out this because I thought, one, the history of the thing is pretty significant. It looks like history is going to repeat itself, in my opinion. And also what Blue Blood Sports TV said. I second that. You know, I know Cambos is mostly trying to sell the fight, which is why he would say some outlandish, really stupid stuff, and he don't care because, uh, at the end of the day, he's just trying to sell it to the audience. And again, he's doing a remarkable job. He's doing a terrific job of selling the fight. But don't get it twisted. It doesn't mean he doesn't believe what he's saying in terms of him, getting ready for Devin Haney, him preparing his ass off to take on this challenge because it's a tremendous challenge. But all fighters can be beaten. All fighters can be beaten, And so it's to formulate a game plan to try and beat him. You know what I'm saying? And making sure you got the tools in the toolbox to do that. So, we'll see. Cambos is what he do well. He's sharpened it up. And we'll see come fight night what happens. I'm not going to put no limits on Cambosis in the sense that I'm not saying he don't have a chance in hell of beating Devin Haney. You never know. It's boxing. You know what I mean? I just called my prediction, for those of you who know, I just called it off of boxing and what Devin Haney can do and what Cambosis can do. That's all. That's all I call it off of. Pure boxing. Nothing to do with whether I like both fighters, who's my favorite fighter and all that shit. I don't really have time for that. I just called it like I see it. So if people were to bet, this is where you put your money, in my opinion. You put it on this guy, you know what I mean, for the victory. More likely unanimous decision, but you never know what could happen. Both guys have power to hurt each other. That don't mean shit, but I'm just saying, having power to hurt each other don't mean nothing, right? You know what I mean? You got to land, but I'm just saying, they do have power to hurt each other. It depends on how they approach the fight, both of them. We may see one or two of them get hurt. You never know. I mean, for those people looking for a slugfest or a firefight, these guys are way too smart for that. I don't even think Cambosis is going to just throw hands like that. I think he's going to try to do that as the fight progresses. Or may even come out early and try and set up a firefight. But if I know Cambosis, he's coy. He's going to try and walk Devin Haney into some sort of trap and then try and release his trap. That's what I think that's what he did with Teal. Teal was pressuring him and everything, and Teal thought he had it in the bag. He relaxed for 1 second and bop! Like Pacquiao, You try to relax for 1 second on Pacquiao. You go to sleep for 1 second on Pacquiao, and he'll make you pay. And Campbell is a similar kind of guy. So, Devin knows what is ahead of him and what's in front of him. And Cambosis knows also what's ahead of him and what's in front of him. And so, whatever edge you can get mentally or otherwise, you try to go for that. It's the art of war. It's nothing personal. Y'all need to understand there's nothing personal in boxing. It's nothing personal. Them two guys, afterwards, those two guys might be chilling out with each other, chilling out, laughing and everything. And y'all be like, what? when you in war, when you in battle, when you in, it's just like guys going to war inside of the ring. They go to war. I mean, some guys might be good friends, and then when they go in the ring, it's totally different. One might even kill the other. You know what I'm saying? You go into war. It's not, that's boxing. You're going to war. It's not just you displaying the skills. So your mindset is, I need to win. I need to win at any cost. And that's what Cambosis is displaying. Devin Haney's not entertaining it because he's also a master of the art of war. And they both are, that's what they do. So Devin Haney's not fazed by anything that Cambosis is doing, but don't get it twisted. Cambos is trying to get any little thing he can get in chink in that armor, he gonna go for it. You know what I mean? And Devin Haney, at the same time, he knows about this. He's a very, very smart guy. He knows about this kind of game. So he's just waiting for the opportunity. You know what I mean? He's just waiting for his opportunity, and he's seen what Cambosis is doing. He understands what Cambosis is doing. And his intelligence, what I mean by his intelligence, the information that has been gathered by him and his team, which is what y'all don't understand. Both guys gather information on each other. You think these guys are just just surface level kind of? No, bro. It don't work like that. They gather intel on each other. They gather as much as they can. Campbell obviously has a secret camp, but they gather information on each other. They scout out. They get their scouts. They do their thing. But it's not, the focus is not that. You have to focus on your game. It's about focusing on what you do in that ring. That's the most important thing. It's not. It's not about focusing on the other guy. You have to. If you focus on the other guy, then you ain't gonna be able to throw no punch. You ain't gonna be able to execute like you need to. You have to mostly focus on yourself, because anything that happens is on you. It's not on the other guy. You can't blame the other guy for what you do. You know what I mean? That's how boxing works. But yeah, of course, the information is always helpful. Information is always helpful in boxing. So obviously these guys are gathering as much information as they can on each other and stuff like that. But it don't, to be honest with you, it always comes down to what you do in the ring. It don't really matter what you say. It don't really matter. I mean, that's boxing for you. Sometimes you can get in a guy's head like Floyd did with Oscar. Cambosis trying to get Devin Haney to be more aggressive. And get him into a fight like how he. So everybody's trying to do what they can do. And ain't nothing wrong with trying. You ain't wasting energy on anything trying to do that, because let me tell you something. If you don't try, that's when you fail. You know what I mean? And to me, I'm going to say this right now. Cambosis, for me, is levels above all them other guys that ain't faced Devin Haney. Because he's stepping out. And he's stepping out and he's backing up what he said. So at the end of the day, y'all can say what you want. He's facing Devin Haney. All right? None of them other guys is facing Devin Haney. None of the other guys step up to the table, step up to the plate to take on the challenge. Okay? So I got Lomachenko didn't. And Lomachenko had a chance to face Devin Haney. He didn't step up to the plate. And people can say, well, Cambosis, who was backed into a corner. No. No, he's facing Devin Haney, so you can't use that anymore. He's facing him. Get what I'm saying? It don't matter what transpired before. He's facing him, and he's going into that ring tomorrow. He's going into that ring to face Devin Haney tomorrow. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, none of those other guys stepped to the plate, and they had the opportunity. Teofimo Lopez had the opportunity. Lomachenko had the opportunity. So they can't say shit about Cambosis, no matter what. They can't say it, because they didn't even step in the ring. Okay? They didn't step in the ring to face him. George is the one that stepped in the ring. That's the real Spartan up in there. That's the real fighter up in there. He didn't duck or dodge nobody. At the end of the day, y'all can say what you want. You can say, oh, he was trying to make the Loma fight. That don't change nothing. He's facing Devin Haney. Tio didn't do it, and Lomachenko didn't do it. Okay? They didn't. They did not. He the first guy to step up and face Devin Haney as champion, as unified champion. And I give him mad props. So, at the end of the day, that's why I like him. I like Cambosis. You can say what you want about him. At the end of the day, he the first guy to take on Devin Haney for undisputed. Recognize that this fight is for undisputed. Whether he's just throwing shade and talking about high belts or whatever, don't really matter, because it's not what he says, it's what he does. In boxing, it's about what you do. It's not what you say. He can say anything you want, but he showed it. He showed he mean what he say by doing. You get what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, I gotta give him props, because Tio didn't take it. He was talking all this shade and all this bullshit about email champion and all that crap. But he didn't step up. Lomachenko vacated the WBC title. Grabbed franchise status to face Devin Haney. He preferred, to face Teofimo Lopez, because risk versus reward. This the same guy that jumped ahead of Devin Haney, who should have faced Luke Campbell. Okay? Jumped ahead of Devin Haney and faced Luke Campbell. Of course, he had more belts. And he was trying to unify, so we get it. But still, at the end of the day, he jumped ahead of Devin Haney. So Devin Haney was supposed to get his shot as a mandatory against Lomachenko. On what? What did Lomachenko do? He vacated. and he went for franchise belts so he could face Teofimo Lopez, which he still lost. So what I like about Cambosis is Cambosis is taking the bulls by the horns and he's going straight at Devin. Going straight at him. And I don't care if he loses this fight by knockout. I rate that higher than if you didn't even face him at all. So I don't want to hear nothing from Tio or nothing from Lomachenko. Nothing. They can't say nothing on this issue because Cambosis is the man facing Devin Haney. They can't say nothing on Cambosis because you had your chance and you did not take that chance. You can't throw no shade on Cambosis. None. Because you ducked Devin Haney. As far as I'm concerned. Alright? It's just like a fan talking about a fighter being a bum. You know what I'm saying? Talking about a fighter being a bum, but you never got in the ring yourself. Who the coward? Or you talking about a fighter being a coward, but you never shared the ring. You never even got close to a ring. Who you to say? Now, a guy who is higher levels above, like if Shakur Stevenson called Rolly Romero a bum, he could do that because why? He been there, done that at the highest level. So if you want to call Rolly Romero a bum, but I can't call Rolly Romero a bum. Because Rolly Romero's levels above what I ever do in boxing. Ever, ever, ever. He might even become world champion. How can I call Rolly Romero a bum? I could say his skills and technical skills, he's still developing as a fighter. So you got to be careful what you say in boxing and who you saying it to. Because what I'm trying to say is you got to have respect for the sport, man. You got no respect for the sport. You ain't gonna have no respect for the fighters, and you ain't gonna have no respect about what you say about them. You know what I mean? And that's something that I'm not saying it didn't exist, you know, before a certain time with a certain set of people. Y'all know how I feel about certain people, but I'm just saying people have more respect for the sport. You know, they have more respect for the sport. And more respect for the fighters. And even if they didn't believe the fighter could do X, Y, or Z, they had a lot more respect. They wouldn't call the fighter a bum or something like that. They might call him a nigga, or they might call him what they call him, a tomato can. But I'm just saying, it was very rare you would hear people say that, because people were a little bit more naive back then too. They didn't have the information we have today, but still. Nonetheless, I'm just saying. So, I don't expect Teofimo Lopez or Vasily Lomachenko, even though they might, to throw shade on my dude, George Cambosis, if he loses the fight. If he loses the fight. Notice I'm using if, even though I know. Never mind. And similarly, I don't want to hear no shade on Devin Haney if he loses the fight. I'm gonna keep it balanced, right? I'm gonna keep it balanced. I don't want no shade against Devin Haney if he loses the fight. This dude decided he was going into Cambosis' backyard. Now, he wanted it. He wanted it, so he's getting what he wants. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, at 23 years of age, stepping up to the plate like that, going into a guy's backyard to take what he got, you got to respect that too. You got to respect it. That's all I'm saying. I'm going to catch you guys later. I'm what you need. Peace out.